We're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'm going to stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance, please. Dear Lord, may we stay focused on the objectives we have for our city. Let us reaffirm our commitment to high ethics in all we do. And let us give thanks for all the blessings, opportunities, and responsibilities that befall us as commissioners and citizens. Let us continue in this new millennium with optimism, renewed energy, and a commitment to service to you and our fellow men and women. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carly, if you can call the roll, please.
Leininger.
Here.
McAleese.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Reed. Penny.
Here. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Nice to see people in the audience. It's really great. It's like unusual stuff. So at this time, we're going to conduct an agenda meeting in preparation for the December 9th regular commission meeting. So right now, we're just going to review the items that are going to be on that night. Well, let's see. So the first one's going to be ordinance number 2025-06. Now, this is an ordinance of the City of South Pasadena, Florida, amending ordinance number 2024-05, the city's 2024-2025 fiscal budget, by increasing appropriations for Hurricane Helene and Milton storm damage cost estimated at $1,705,355 for all funds, by increasing revenues received from flood insurance policies totaling $764,200, by removing $9,500 in budgeted revenue from the Hibiscus Hall rental income due to closing of Hall from storm damage, by increasing certain general fund and capital improvement fund appropriations totaling $138,090 for expenditures approved in commission workshops, by adjusting sewer fund fees and processing costs to reflect reduced activity due to hurricanes, and by decreasing appropriations capital improvements paving by $190,000 to reflect unused funds, providing for an effective date. This will be the second and final reading next week. Anybody have any questions or concerns over moving ahead with that one? Okay. All right, ordinance number 2025-07, which will be our second item. This is an ordinance of the City of South Pasadena, Florida, amending Article 3, Chapter 180, Firefighters Pension Fund Assessment, Chapter 9, Firefighters Retirement System, subsection F1, F3, and subsection I1, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. This will also be the second and final reading. Everyone's still up to par on this one here? Okay,
Yes.
Good. We will have no unfinished business. We will have our consent agenda to approve, and that will be the approval of the commission meeting minutes for the month of November, which are always on file in the clerk's office. So seeing that everything looks good and no one has any objections to moving forward next week, we will accept the agenda. And anything else here to look at? Okay, and we will adjourn this meeting and move to our workshop position. We're going to go ahead and call the workshop to order and have Carly call the roll one more time.
Leininger.
Here.
McAleese.
Here.
Thompson. Here. Reed. Penny.
Here. All right. We got two items on their agenda today. The first one is the Commercial Corridor Regulations Project Update with Ford Pinellas. So let's come on up. Good to see everybody. How you doing?
Great, Mayor Penny, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Rodney Chapman. With me today is Nasheen Rahman and Nicole Galasso from Fort Pinellas. It's good to be here in South Pasadena again. It's been a little while. We were here back, I guess, last June, so over a year, and obviously before a couple hurricanes and the impacts we all saw with that. So we were pleased when Carly reached back out to us to let us know that you all were ready to re-engage in a conversation about reforming some of your development regulations. And so that's what we're here to do today, is kind of restart the conversation. And I know, Commissioner, you weren't here the last time, so we're going to give a little bit of an intro to bring everybody up to speed on the project. So before I turn it over to Nasheen as our project manager, just like to always give a little bit about who we are and what we do, because when folks hear Fort Pinellas, they automatically think Pinellas County government, and we're not Pinellas County government. The mayor can tell you he served on our board, and we are a special district of the Board of County Commissioners, meaning that we work across city boundaries and do a lot of good things to advance some of the priorities of Pinellas County. One of the things I'm most proud of is our ability to work with communities like yours to help solve problems. So we're doing similar work right now in Indian Rocks Beach, in Clearwater, and in Gulfport, looking at various city regulations to find ways to improve them so that they can achieve some of the goals that they have that they're not seeing right now. We also have a transportation role, and that's really for the Metropolitan Planning Organization that deals with planning and programming and prioritizing road projects or projects for state and federal funding. But generally, we like to be a forum for countywide issues and problem solving, and that's the role that we're fulfilling here today. So we also like to just highlight the partnership we have with your community. We have been working with you all on and off for, at least in my 11 years here at Fort Pinellas. Again, the mayor was on the Fort Pinellas board. We have had different projects that goes through South Pasadena. The MPO's long-range transportation plan does include a series of improvements within your community. And what we're here today is to talk about Pasadena Avenue and the general corridor and the redevelopment opportunities that could be realized by changes in your land development regulations. And on a countywide perspective, we also are leading a pretty complex update to the Pinellas County Multimodal Impact Fee Ordinance. That is a lot of words, but basically it's a countywide ordinance that assesses developers an impact fee for transportation when they build new projects. And unfortunately, that ordinance hasn't been updated in a very long time. And so we're going through that process right now. And you'll be hearing more from myself and Nicole, who is our project manager on that, as we move forward into the second phase of that countywide ordinance update. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn over to Nasheen.
Ring light on the back, so it may already be on.
I think it's working now. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Rodney, for the introduction. My name is Nasheen Rahman. I'm a principal planner at Fort Pinellas. I was here with Rodney last June when we began this project. And truly working with our local governments on technical assistance is one of the most rewarding parts of my job to me. So I'm really excited to get started on this work with you again. And we'll provide an overview of the work that's been done so far and really the purpose of the project, as we don't expect everyone to remember everything from last June, and kind of explain to you the purpose of these commercial corridor regulations, and also give you some context on some retail and market analysis that's been done even outside of these efforts that are relevant to the work that we do today. We try to make sure that anytime we give you recommendations, they're backed by market analysis and retail data that support conducting any of these regulations or implementing these in your city. I'll also go over some of the existing conditions in your city, both on the ground and in your code, and the challenges and opportunities they present. And my favorite topic, I will give you some important legislative considerations that will definitely impact the way that we go about this work. And then we hope to open this up for questions and discussion. And we really are here today to seek your guidance on how to move forward, and just really are the conduit for getting the language that you want into your code. So to start with an overview, this project, as Rodney mentioned, we originally initiated in June of 2024. And the purpose of this is to focus on land development regulations in your commercial corridor, namely the Pasadena Avenue and Gulfport Boulevard area. And something that we really want to emphasize throughout this process is that when we give you these recommendations, they are options for you to consider. We like to remind all of our local governments that there's always the option of doing nothing if you would like, right? We're just here to give you our technical expertise, present the options for you. You can take them as you wish with your discretion, and we will always adapt and work with you in these regulations. And so with that, what we really try to keep in mind is the context and character that you want for your community, and make sure that what we're recommending is appropriate and aligns with the vision that you have for the community. But ultimately, the purpose or a main goal of commercial corridor regulations is to enhance that economic opportunity within your community, and especially what's considered the commercial core or the business core of your community. So back in 2024, summer leading into fall of 2024, the work that we had done is completed an initial review of your existing regulations in the code. And we also conducted a walking audit with your staff, and even your attorney came along. It was a really hot day in October. I remember very, very vividly. But we did do a walking audit to really understand what it feels like to walk on the corridor, to drive on the corridor, and it helps us as planners think about the regulations and how they would yield as results in the community. And of course, we did have to pause the work in October due to the hurricanes, but we're back now. So why adopt these standards? I mentioned that a key goal of this is economic opportunity, and something that is a reality in South Pasadena is that you have several aging commercial properties, and with that, you do have the opportunity to spur reinvestment, but to do it in a way that aligns with the vision that you have for the community, and to create a core and a town center that aligns with that as well. And land use improvements also tie in directly to the transportation network. So some of the commercial corridor regulations that we can suggest to you can tie in more with that core intersection in your community and make it so that it feels like a place people want to visit. And it takes time to develop that, that character, but this is definitely a step in that direction. And this slide here provides a concept to you of a commercial corridor example and several elements that could be included in a commercial corridor. You can see that there are opportunities for mixed-use development, active public spaces and street fronts, which are basically just more welcoming, inviting areas to walk in, and also creates better access for businesses, especially if you are walking along the corridor. And then there are transportation or transportation-adjacent improvements that are part of a commercial corridor, like an improved pedestrian crossing and landscaping and buffer and shade trees that make that walking experience more comfortable. And again, I'll emphasize that a key goal in all of that is to provide that economic opportunity, and that these are just some elements of a commercial corridor, and what you incorporate is dependent upon you all and what aligns with you and your city. And I've been talking a lot about the character that you have established for your city, the vision that you have, and this is by no means the city's first attempt or only attempt at moving more towards that vision. Back in 2012, you as the commission adopted the Pasadena Avenue Corridor Redevelopment Plan, and that was largely a transportation plan identifying recommendations for improvements along Pasadena Avenue, but it also provided land use recommendations that you all could implement and opportunities for land use improvements. That ultimately led to you in your code adopting the planned redevelopment district zoning category. And this zoning category is one that facilitates options for mixed-use development, but also has some regulations that encourage land use supporting transportation connectivity. So think about things like in and out access of certain properties, making sure that they're oriented in a way that makes sense for all road users, whether you're walking, biking, or driving. And that is something that I will come back to in more detail, but I did want to kind of emphasize really the timeline and how things have been building up to this moment. But in the land use recommendations, what this corridor redevelopment plan did identify were opportunities for the shopping properties north and south of Gulfport Boulevard and east of Pasadena Avenue, really thinking of them as the anchors for your commercial core of the city, kind of a clear starting and ending point of where you want to focus on some of that reinvestment and really focus on that character in that area. And that doesn't mean that the vision completely overhauls the commercial core of your community. That's not realistic by any means when it comes to implementing land development code, when it comes to issuing permits, or even based on the market realities. That's not necessarily realistic to overhaul. But it is meant to provide a way to realize incremental redevelopment opportunities and create opportunities for infill and retrofitting certain commercial centers. And so with that, I want to provide a little bit of an overview of the retail market analysis that's been conducted before. I won't bog you down with these numbers, but what I will emphasize is that this was an analysis conducted in 2020, but some of the analysis is still relevant to the work that we're doing today. So one of the key takeaways here is that the city's commercial core does have, or rather the overall city does have up to 75,000 square feet of retail market potential, meaning that there is space and opportunity for commercial opportunity in the city that could spur that economic reinvestment. But what's also a case for the city is that there is a negative net absorption of nearly 89,000 square feet of retail space. And what that essentially means is that more space is being vacated than is being newly leased. You might be seeing businesses leave at a higher rate than you're seeing new businesses come in. So it's important for us to temper both of those data points. And there may be a number of reasons for the negative net absorption, and one of them could certainly be the aging building inventory that you have in your city. So this map, these two maps on this slide show you, using those colors, the building ages in that commercial corridor at the intersection of Pasadena Avenue and Gulfport Boulevard. The red parcels show you buildings that are over 50 years old. Orange shows you buildings that are 20 to 50 years old, or rather parcels with buildings that are 20 to 50 years old. And then the yellow are parcels with buildings less than 20 years old. And you can see that the yellow is greatly outnumbered in the commercial core. The map on the right zooms in more so at that intersection at an area that you are very deeply familiar with, and the cross-hatching on those parcels is meant to show you the redevelopment potential, or rather parcels with the highest redevelopment potential. In this case, redevelopment potential is measured with land value and building value. So if land value is generally higher than the value of the building on it, then that means generally that there's usually higher redevelopment potential. You obviously want the building to have some economic value, and if the land is exceeding that, that tells you that those parcels may be ripe for redevelopment. And you can see how they line up with some of your older parcels, and that none of the yellow parcels have that cross-hatching on it. And this just reinforces the opportunity that you have to get ahead of that redevelopment potential and have regulations in place that spur the kind of redevelopment you want to see. So going more into the existing conditions, you're deeply familiar, as I said, with this intersection, but this aerial view gives us I would say a good angle of kind of the limitations on the corridor. You obviously have those aging buildings. You can see that there's large parking lots and in many cases underutilized retail commercial plazas, which is obviously perhaps not what you want for the future of your community. You want this space to be activated in a way that is aligned with the character that you all imagine for the city. And so that presents the opportunity, like I mentioned, with the Pasadena Avenue Corridor Redevelopment Plan, that opportunity for infill development. And when we look at existing conditions, we look at also what's literally on the ground today, but then the existing conditions of your code, because this is what determines if a property were to redevelop, what regulations they would be redeveloping under. So in your commercial, in your zoning districts, you have several commercial general categories that allow for general commercial retail uses, but also water-dependent uses, which is very unique to your community, as well as even some institutional uses that you can see on the light blue in the map. And on that map, that black outline is meant to really highlight what are the areas of focus for the commercial corridor in the commercial general category. I spoke to you briefly about the Plan Redevelopment District category that you all adopted following the Pasadena Avenue Corridor Redevelopment Plan. And this is the only category you have in your zoning code that allows for any mixed-use development and provides for any sort of guidance on what to do with mixed-use development. And it has not necessarily yielded the redevelopment vision that you all have outlined in your comprehensive plan, in your land development code, or not necessarily yielded the kind of redevelopment that is typical of a category like this. In fact, the only property in the city that has rezoned to this zoning district and built under that rezoning is the storage facility just behind Winn-Dixie. And I don't know about you, that's not what I imagine as planned redevelopment. If the storage facility is here, I'm so sorry. But it's not necessarily aligned with that planned redevelopment category. So that kind of presents to you that opportunity to take the planned redevelopment category that's already there, you have it in your code, and maybe the help that we can provide to you is enhancing that category to be better aligned with the kind of redevelopment that you want to see. And with that comes outlining clear public improvements that should come from a category like that. Examples are improved parking standards, improved internal circulation within your very large commercial plazas, the option to reduce setbacks and the option to bring a building closer to the street front so you're not necessarily behind a canyon of parking. You have better access to walking to buildings, or a car can actually see a building when they're driving by. And then there's also opportunities for landscaping improvements, signage improvements, so that you're creating that character in the commercial core that creates a destination, not just a place to pass through. So the thing about the planned redevelopment district category is that it does require an application for rezoning from an individual property owner or an applicant. And in looking through that category, it is a little bit unclear as to what some of the outcomes are, as well as a little bit arduous in its requirements. So one of the things that we want to discuss with you, and we'll bring this back in a little bit more detail at the end of the presentation, is the consideration of taking that district and turning it into perhaps an overlay that you as the commission decide to apply to certain properties in that commercial core. And then within that overlay, we could work with you and your staff to outline those clear improvements that you want to see come out of this. And it makes it so that a property doesn't necessarily have to rezone to have that option, but you also have some very clearly vetted improvements that you want to see come out of redevelopment. So I will go into that in more detail later. I just wanted to present that to you as I go through the rest of the presentation. And hope you'll think about it as I get to the questions at the end. But the overlay option could take you from this kind of existing development to something like this, where you have a little bit more measured infill development focused on the street frontage, focused on maybe providing some smaller property options along the corridor. And you can see that there's some examples of maybe some more enhanced landscaping, and that really can slowly but surely make a world of difference on a commercial corridor. And the biggest thing here is that everything is happening in phases, right? Nothing is going to change overnight, but this is one step towards the change that you all want to see for the future of the city. So I was being very facetious when I said this was my favorite topic. So I have some legislative preemptions to provide some context to you all on. You probably already know about this, but I want to frame it in the context of this project. So the first one that I would like to remind you all of that you're probably aware of is the Live Local Act. This is a preemption that allows residential and mixed-use developments on properties that are zoned industrial or commercial. And it could essentially mean that if a property owner were to leverage this bill that's now law, they could take any commercial property under certain stipulations that are honestly very flexible for them and turn it completely into residential. They don't even have to turn it completely into mixed use. Mixed use is an option. But the reason that I bring this up is because we encourage our local governments to be proactive with their regulations. If you have regulations that are already attractive to property owners and attractive for redevelopment opportunities, then we'd like to think that it's less likely that this bill will get leveraged. In being proactive, you get to decide what the redevelopment in your community looks like rather than being left to the devices of legislative preemptions. The second one you are probably familiar with is Senate Bill 180 or SB 180. Now, this was a bill that became law after the hurricanes, and it does preempt local governments from adopting more restrictive or burdensome land use regulations. So the reason that I bring this up, and also the reason that I presented the consideration of an overlay as an option, is that we are limited, while this bill is in effect, we are limited in how much we can change your land development regulations. So if you, let's say, wanted to provide better landscaping requirements, you might see them as better, but they are actually more restrictive or burdensome for a property owner. However, with an overlay, what you have the option of doing is providing perhaps an incentive to a property owner, saying, if you meet these very specific requirements, you could potentially get an expedited review process, but in exchange, you must give us X, Y, and Z. So for example, improve signage, improve landscaping. And you're working then with options, not requirements, but it's more of a negotiation process. So the overlay option is one that we were thinking about anyway last year. And as this bill became law, we were like, okay, this might be one of the few options we have at hand. I want to say, for legal purposes, we would work very closely with your attorney to make sure that all of these regulations would not run afoul of this bill. But I wanted to provide this context because it is a very limiting factor in the work that we're doing with our local governments, but gives us the opportunity to be a little bit more creative with the way we work on regulations. So with all of that, I'm happy to go back to any of the slides, any specific questions that you have, but we would love to have a discussion with you and get your thoughts on generally what your priorities are for this corridor, what kind of improvements you want to see, and then we would greatly appreciate your thoughts on kind of the overlay approach. And of course, I'm happy to talk through that a little bit more if anything is unclear. But thank you for your time and attention and for having us back.
Thank you. Well, I'll tell you that what I hear mostly from people that come through our city or up and down Gulfport Boulevard, that's portions that are in our city, of course, is it's just not appealing. You know, it's very unappealing. It's not attractive, dirty. I hear that. I hear different things. But then you have certain areas that we have, like you were showing, I think in the second or third one, the landscaping buffer with the grass and the shade trees. We have areas like that our Public Works Department keeps up great, and people love the green. They love the trees and the flowers they plant. But there's a lot of area up and down Pasadena Avenue and Gulfport that it's just nothing. You know, they got shell rock out there or something. And I think, in my mind, to attract businesses or people to come into the city, you've got to have a good-looking corridor. And I know Pasadena Avenue belongs to the state. And if FDOT would come in and put some type of palm trees up and down there or whatever, you know, I think that sort of thing would really help to change the appeal and look of our city to make people want to come in and to maybe go to those out parcels at the Winn-Dixie, at the Walmart Plaza, and maybe build on the outside of that. Now, I know the liquor store that we have here is closing, and I believe they've sold to South Bank. That sound about right? Or we're not sure on that yet? The Chase? Chase. Okay, so there's a start there, because they're going to tear down, rebuild, And maybe that might spur something, I'm hoping, in that area when they take that process. But if we can create a core area that attracts people to want to come in, if that's just a start, if we can get, something done up and down Gulfport Boulevard and something up and down Pasadena Avenue in the center to make people feel they want to be here, that might be a good way to go. I mean, I'd love to see, like in the other one you had with all the idea of the start area, and to have some landscaping done out towards the street, on the sidewalk areas and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to figure out where should we start? Where should we start? Should we start in the middle of the road? Should we start on the sides of the road? What's going to be our best option? I mean, do you have any idea? Have you ran into this that has helped, and something in the past that you've seen?
So you brought up the important point that Pasadena Avenue is under FDOT's jurisdiction. So the kind of landscaping trees you're talking about that could go in a median would unfortunately be outside of the scope of these land development regulations. That being said, we have a close partnership with FDOT. And if there is ever an opportunity for us to collaborate on a project like that, we'd absolutely make sure to advocate for that. But when it comes to the landscaping improvements on certain properties, the options that we presented to you, where you work with us on the regulations and think about what kind of incentives you would be okay with providing to a property owner in exchange for improved landscaping. As just one example, some other things that could help are improved signage or wayfinding signage that slowly starts to build that core character in the city. And what I will say in the review of your land development regulations, so far, it looks like there is just a minimum percentage of landscaping that's required on a property, but less focus on the placement of that landscaping. So those kinds of details and specificity can help with what you are requesting.
So as far as like Pasadena Avenue goes, I guess that would be talking to our local legislators, trying to get them to push FDOT to do something?
I was just going to add, I spent the first half of my career working for the city of Tarpon Springs. Mm-hmm. And for us, we had two state roads that went through the core of our downtown, Alt 19, north-south, and then Tarpon Avenue coming in east-west. And we had the same issue that you all have here in South Pasadena, where the corridor at the time was pretty barren. And so we were able to work with FDOT to put together a beautification plan. That was a funding partnership between us and FDOT. So if you go through Tarpon Springs now, you'll see cabbage palms, date palms. Where we had the space, we planted crepe myrtles and other types of shade trees, as well as ground covers. So there's a way to do it. But with our role as being both the Land Use and Transportation Planning Agency, we can initiate that conversation with FDOT to determine what's the best path forward to begin to work on a beautification plan for Pasadena Avenue.
I assumed it would be a partnership type thing. They wouldn't do the whole thing just for us.
Yeah. Yes.
That would be asking way too much. But, and with everything else we got going on, we're going to have to rebuild City Hall. We got into that. But it is something I think that would push to make that area work.
Yeah, and the one thing that's interesting about your location is, I'm putting my landscape kind of planner hat back on, is obviously you're very close to the Gulf and saltwater. And fortunately, certain types of tropical plants and trees like palms are salt tolerant. So even if you were to put something like that along Pasadena Avenue and you had some inundation into those areas, it wouldn't destroy your landscaping. So
I know. When I looked at all the stuff they did along Blind Pass Road and things like that over on St. Pete Beach, when they put all the palms in and everything, and the change that it made, it just made you feel like you're coming into Florida, even though palms are natural, I guess, but everybody thinks they are. So, and since people drive through our city going to the beach, that's the whole thing. To me, it just seems like you're coming through, and you go through South Pasadena, and it's just so bland. And then, you get out to the beach. Now, how does that affect how they feel when they get to the beach? I mean, the beach is the beach, and they like the way things look. But if it was nice coming through here, it sets that frame of mind for when you go on the beach area. So, anybody else, any questions or anything while we're here?
I agree with you. I think we need to give them a reason that they want to stop in our town, not to say, I want to get through here as quickly as I can.
Correct.
But I think that we need to have that.
Well, and I think we need to encourage businesses to want to come here. I mean, we've got a lot of empty buildings and empty lots, and right away that, you know, you look at that and you got a real concern about what's going on in the city, and somehow encourage a business to want to come here and be part of our city.
Well, a lot of the vacant places we have now are due to the floods, and so it's going to take a while for somebody to want to come in and do the work to take care of it. We hope they're going to be sooner than later, of course. I know we've got a new strip mall coming in next to the Regions Bank, and that's a start. There's something else there for people to use and see, and hopefully it'll be places we want to go to and be able to walk to. Which I love the walkability of our city. You can do it, but there's got to be somewhere to go. You know, there's a few. I mean, occasionally I'll walk down to Publix to get our groceries, but you know, that's not all the time, because sometimes you've got so much groceries you can't, so you have to drive. And we recently had to change with the rapid transit lanes, and I hear both sides of that now. Some people said, "Oh, great, we got our lane back," and then 2 weeks later, like, "Oh, you know, I had such a problem getting over." And I was like, "Well, you know, you can't have both. It's one or the other, you know." You know. So if you push for that, well, okay, well, we got it now. We got all 3 lanes back. So, but it just all depends. We got to make it work. Everybody's got to work together. And like I said, we got to do a start, and that means not just talking about it today, but actually trying to push it forward and make it work. So it's just something we'll have to discuss and see what our plans will be to try to also talk with FDOT, and also maybe reach out more to these shopping plazas we have there at Walmart and Winn-Dixie and the owners of these places, and see if they're even interested in a company that might come in to take an out parcel. And if so, what can we do to help make this attractive to them through the city? What can we do to make them say, if you build this, we will do this? And so we have to talk and discuss all that, see what we can do, maybe when it comes to permit fees or whatever, to see what we can do to make them want to come in and take care of it. So.
When we left off this project, we actually had a community workshop planned that we were going to host, but obviously the hurricanes delayed that. So we can definitely try to see if we're able to include some business owners or property owners in that outreach, and make sure we understand. It sounds like you're open to giving incentives, but make sure we understand what is an incentive to them. And having that negotiation, it's all a process, but that's some great guidance for us.
Help me understand what exactly your group does, because I wasn't here a year ago. So in my mind, the city needs places where people are going to come in, park, maybe go to a meal, do whatever, and then want to stay and walk around and go somewhere else. How do we find those kind of businesses that will draw people into our city? I'm specifically thinking of restaurants, because other than Level Rocks and maybe Kiki's, we don't really have a whole lot of sit-down restaurants here. They're all drive-throughs, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So how do we get those high-quality restaurants that are going to draw people, maybe even from the beach or surrounding communities, to our community to come in, park, and stay? How does your organization help us do that? I don't know. Do you help us find those businesses, or do you just help us redo the zoning? I just don't know.
More so the latter, where we
Okay.
work with you on your policies to make sure that when a business is coming in, that they are coming in and developing and designing in a way that you want to help create that destination that you all are talking about. The business outreach part is more so, I would say, a Chamber of Commerce, economic development type of work, but what we can do is make sure that we understand that what the businesses in your community want, what's doable for them. Something that we did with the city of Indian Rocks Beach is we worked closely with property owners, as they're a smaller town as well, and tried to understand even the financial feasibility of redevelopment of a property. So we do try to make sure to incorporate retail, market, and economic analysis. We have those skills within our team. But it's more from that policy perspective than a business outreach perspective.
That's what I was wondering.
But
Thank
one
you.
of the things that we can do, building your suggestion, because we do have a relationship with the head of the Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber, Charlie Justice.
Okay.
So we actually met with Charlie a few months ago to kind of get a sense of what's going on in the beaches post-hurricane. And he gave us some good insight. So maybe we talk to Charlie again just to get a sense from a restaurateur perspective, you know, what's going on in the area. Because he did share with us when we last talked to him that there is a challenge with restaurants getting back open for various reasons. Not just, they don't have large margins, they're not well capitalized.
Right.
You know, they had the damage to buildings that they typically lease and don't own. So again, there's a lot to unpack there. So maybe we can just talk to Charlie about what he's seeing.
Well, and there's
in the
parking
chamber.
issues over there too, major parking issues.
Well, and plus now we have something we didn't have last time they were here. We have a marketing department.
Yes, we do that.
With a very great marketing person, who we could come up, and I don't know if there's, it's probably not nothing, I don't know if there's anything you guys have ever seen when you were working with other cities, any type of a marketing package that might have been used that was sent out just to say, hey, maybe you should come look at our city. If there's any examples you guys might have run into in the past, we would appreciate that. I'm sure Kelly could come up with things on her own to just say, I mean, we can't really push somebody's land for sale, of course.
Right, right, don't
But
do that.
if we can just push our city to say, please come take a look,
Yeah.
you know, there are opportunities in our city for a place like yours.
Yeah. To that point, I'm not to keep talking about Tarpon Springs, but that's exactly what they do. So Tarpon Springs has a monthly newsletter that goes out digitally, and it's coming from their economic development person. And part of their newsletter includes a kind of a list of or inventory of available properties for reinvestment that goes out to a pretty wide audience.
Yeah.
And so that's just one cost-effective way of showing what is available within your community.
I forgot horse and jockey, sorry. I don't want to
Let 'em
not
down.
remember
Oh,
anybody,
you're
but,
gonna get it
you know,
from
that's an important one. I just,
That's right.
I was trying to picture them as I was talking, but as you see the size of our city, most of us do walk, I walk the entire city, so I'd love to see what you're talking about come to reality, yes.
We change everything. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I think so.
Happen. We gotta
We gotta make it happen,
try it.
yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Carly?
No, I think just touching on sort of our hope is to restart the conversation of having a community meeting. Because I think a big part of the process will be gauging what the community is willing to bear in terms of these changes. You know, conversations about height and density, you know, those are all,
Right.
they can prove to be controversial at times, so wanting to make sure that we have conversations with the community and recognizing that
This
change.
is my controversial period in office right now.
Okay.
So, I'm done in
Sorry.
4 years.
Open to listen, but, no, I
But
think
no, yeah, I understand. Yeah.
just, I mean, having those conversations with the public is kind of, I think, our next
Right.
focus if we have your blessing to kind of move forward to be doing that. So, and recognizing, I'm not sure, I know there are a couple of you were here for that, but the redevelopment project that took place about 2015, if you were here for that, a lot of people saw some of those images and took that as this is what the city is doing versus these are all possibilities. What do you all think? What do you think could work? What's not going to work? And so basically if you get feedback or questions about that, kind of making sure that people understand that if they see a graphic from a meeting, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you all sat down and said, this is what we're going to do, this is what your city is going to look like. It's more like we have to look at all the options for what we could possibly do. So I guess just keep that in mind, having gone through that a couple of years ago, that we really, staff is going to try to be very sensitive to that because of how that went last time. So,
So, and again, I don't know how we do it, but do we as a city reach out, like we have right behind the horse and jockey, next to the bank, you got that building that's being rebuilt there, what is it, a 2 or 3 story building? Would we ever reach out to the owners of that building and say, would you consider having a restaurant on the first floor or something like that? I don't know if the city does that kind of stuff, I don't have that background.
I think more what we would be hoping to do is if we make regulatory changes, working with property
we can
owners
have
to
a
say, hey, just so you know, here are some options for what you could do with your
And if you did
site.
that, this is what we could do,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, right?
To
Okay.
help people see more
Yeah.
potential rather than just thinking, this is the building I have, what fits in what is
That's what I was
currently
thinking.
here, more to say, the city wants to work with you to get more value from your property. Here are some ways you could do that. Here are some ways that we can work with you. You know, we've talked about changing parking. The city has a lot of parking. You drive through
Okay.
the city, you see a lot of parking.
Yep.
So if that's one thing that we were to adjust, we could say, hey, we can make, there's adjustments you can make to your parking requirements, so you could do a building of this size and shape on this part of your property rather than where it is with this giant parking lot.
Awesome.
Just to try to help people see what their options, create more options,
Yeah.
and then help them know what those options are.
I think
Is
that's,
that, did I
yeah,
say
no,
that
you
okay?
nailed it, Carly.
Okay.
You nailed it. And,
Okay.
and that's exactly what the purpose of that overlay approach would be, because right now, if you worked with, let's say, the Horse and Jockey, they're likely in the commercial general district. They have very limited options
Yeah.
for what they could do. They would have to rezone to that plan redevelopment district category. But if you as a city decide that on the Pasadena Avenue and Gulfport Boulevard corridor, you apply this overlay, provide these options, then when you go talk to a property owner, that is already facilitated for them.
Yeah, you're removing a step.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and that is always key for business investment.
Yes.
Is that you're reducing some of the red tape. And if you
Yes.
do that, then sometimes the private market will respond.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's very helpful.
That's a great question. Thank you, Carly.
So, and I'm assuming that we'll get this slideshow sent to us.
Yes, yep, I can email
And
that
because
out.
we do have some new people on, can you send us back out the controversial packet we got
Are you
many
sure?
months ago? Well, it just had some nice, some of the stuff was
Okay,
an idea,
I
but,
can do that.
but
Then
not
can I-
something we would do.
Can I put out like a
blanket statement.
like a blanket statement? So one of the things that was included in that was the potential to try to pursue reducing the number of lanes on Pasadena Avenue to slow down traffic.
Oh,
It
We're
was,
gonna put
it was,
large
a-
islands
it was
up
just
in
a
the middle
concept
and-
that's like, if you
Turnouts.
reduce your lanes, your traffic will slow down.
Right.
So that then became the community in large
And we
part
didn't like it when we
saying,
saw it. We liked the way
the
it
city
looked
is
in
taking
the
away
picture.
our lanes, and it became a really big deal.
Yeah.
So I, if I'm gonna send that back out, I just wanna put
Yeah,
that
yeah, just
caveat out
remember, it's
there.
just something to look at.
I think we understand.
And
So
tweak it.
just keep
That's
that in
right.
mind. It took years to get that conversation to kind of quiet
And
back
imagine, most of
down.
it came through you.
So, a little bit.
The county.
I had
I
that conversation
yeah.
many times.
So, Mayor, is it
So-
okay if I work with Carly and kind of facilitating the discussion with FDOT about the beautification opportunities on
yes,
Pasadena
please. Let's see
Avenue?
what we
And
can
so
get
I'll
going.
I'll just work with you, Carly, to
100%,
kind of
yep.
see what's possible.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be
All
great.
right, perfect.
Great,
Thank you all.
Very
Thank
much.
you.
Nice
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you all. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Always great to see you. You guys sticking around for a little while?
Great discussion.
Thank you. Okay. Well, our next item will be South Pasadena City Hall Hardening and Resiliency Project Update with Gray Robinson.
Yes, so we
pointer?
have,
Yeah.
oh, that's ours actually, Commissioner, that's ours.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. You want me to leave right
You
here?
can just leave it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you all?
Doing great.
Excited to be with you all this morning. Chris Dawson, part of the Gray Robinson lobbying team that is very thrilled to represent the city of South Pasadena up in Tallahassee. I'll introduce myself and a couple of my teammates who couldn't be with me today. As you know, it's a committee week up in Tallahassee, so they're up minding the fort while I'm down here providing an update. I'd go into detail on the firm, but I know y'all have a great relationship with Kristen and our legal side of the house, has a long relationship with the city as your outside city counsel, and so we were thrilled to be brought on as an additional service for the city, really focused on state government relations up in Tallahassee. So I'm Chris Dawson. I'm the lead on the file, your lead lobbyist in Tallahassee. I've been with the firm for 13 years, and I'm based out of the Tampa office, so just a quick jog over the bridge. But anytime the legislature is in session, I'm up in Tallahassee with them. So kind of a nice treat, actually, to be home today and visit with you rather than having to run up to Tallahassee yesterday. I'll run up to Tallahassee later on today. So I'm happy to go into a couple different areas. I know we want to do a quick overview of the funding request, obviously being our top priority for the year. I can also do my best to share a little bit of insight on what's going on with the Florida legislature broadly, what issues we think that they're going to touch on this year. Of course, the property tax issue is going to be front and center for a lot of session. If I was a gambling man, I might say it will continue to be front and center even when session has reached its regular conclusion. There could be some special sessions in our future. So I think we're going to see a lot of legislative activity like we did last year that's going to go well into late spring, summer, potentially even into the election season. There's some intra-party politics going on with that, and so happy to touch on all that. But first, let me go back and a quick introduction. As I mentioned, I'm the lead on the team with the firm for 13 years. I do almost exclusively lobbying and government relations services at the state level, working with both the legislative branch, so our friends in the Florida legislature, and then the executive branch, which is the governor's office down to all of the state agencies, including I have my note about our need to get with FDOT on beautification of Pasadena Avenue. We also help with those types of issues, so we can also assist in getting that conversation going. Carly asked me if I wanted to sit in on the first part of the presentation with Ford Pinellas. She said, is that in your wheelhouse? It actually is. I have 2 degrees in civil engineering, so when it comes to building out communities that are resilient and robust and economic engines, that has always been an area that I found exciting and where I like to do a lot of my lobbying work as well. So when it comes to the state level and folks like DOT, the Department of Commerce, and the governor's office, we've got you covered there and can certainly help ramp up on those executive level connections. I am assisted by 2 junior lobbyists on the team. We've got Carlisha Collins. She's based out of our Tallahassee office. Carlisha's been with the firm for nearly 4 years now, but she came to us after decades of service within the legislature. She served in both the Speaker's office on the House side and in the Senate President's office before coming to Gray Robinson, so she knows where all the bathrooms are in the room and where some of the bodies are buried up around Tallahassee. But she's been a great asset to the team and has been assisting as we get all the paperwork lined up going into session. And then lastly, Kylie Anzueto is also part of your core team. She's based out of our Orlando office. She has been on the lobbying team for 2 years now, so relatively new to us, but young and energetic, and you need those folks running around the Capitol halls as well. So we're part of a broader team of about 10 to 12 lobbyists full-time with the firm. And so as part of our representation of the city, you have access to all of our lobbyists. So if for some reason we need to get to a member in Miami, we have a partner, Joseph Salzberg, who is a lobbyist based out of Miami, and he's on your team if needed. But your core day-to-day is myself, Carlisha, and Kylie. So that's a little bit of an update on the team. And so, of course, obviously, top priority we're working on with the city is the City Hall Hardening and Resiliency Project. We really kind of jumped into the deep end of the pool with Carly and the team on getting this project off the ground and ready for session. But I'm happy to report that we have hit all of our milestones. We've got all the paperwork submitted. We do have commitments for sponsors, and we've even already met with the Senate Appropriations Chairman on the project. So we are well ahead of the curve. I'm happy to go through some of those meetings and key introductions that we have already done, and then kind of share an update on where we go as session transitions from the committee week phase, which we're in now, to, of course, regular session in the beginning of January. So I mentioned sponsors, so we met early on with Representative Linda Cheney. You're a member of the House here in South Pasadena. She is an excellent member in the Florida House. She has a great track record on appropriations items, so we were really thrilled to be able to bring her on early. She came out, did a tour of this current facility, and really got to kind of put her hands on the issues that you're facing, both in just recovering from the storm, but then also modernizing to meet ADA requirements and really just the needs of a growing city. And so she agreed to carry the project for us in the House. We've had several conversations with Senator Nick DeCeglie as well, your current senator. He's agreed to carry the project. We're still working on getting some timing down for a sit-down meeting to go through the specific details with him. As you all may know, he's a local small business owner as well. So when they get out of Tallahassee, it's kind of back to business as usual. And so we'll get that meeting on the books, hopefully sometime between now and the end of the calendar year, so that we're ready to go with him when we get to session in January. But again, he's agreed to follow the project. We had a meeting with Representative Anderson's team. He is the delegation chair. So not necessarily a direct line of influence there other than just having full support from the delegation, and that's certainly something that we'll build out as we get closer to budget conference, which occurs during the second half of session. And then lastly, probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we had a meeting in district with Senator Ed Hooper, of course, Senate Appropriations Chairman, walked him through the specifics of the project. He gave the company line that we're getting out of Tallahassee right now, which is it's going to be a tight budget year, and we know that that is true. They are continuing to look at budget reductions at the state level. But it's still a year where we're going to spend somewhere between $112 and $115 billion, and there will be priorities from back home included in that, and our job is to make sure that we're on the list that's included.
Oh, the fact that we've never asked for money might be a plus.
We make that point.
Absolutely.
We make that point often.
As someone who has done a lot of appropriations work in my career, that is a line that's very nice to get to use. That, hey, we're not up here asking for money year in and year out. This is our first time asking. We explained the situation around building the new fire station, which of course proved to be an asset that we needed during the storms, but obviously he understands that it's a timing issue now and that we've got to address what happened to this building while continuing to provide the services that our residents need. So I think it landed really well with him. I know Representative Cheney also shared that appreciation that, hey, you're truly only coming to the state when you need it, and you've got skin in the game, and you're doing it the right way. So that's the feedback that we've gotten all around. And we'll continue to work on broadening support for the project now that we're entering into session. So some key dates that will be coming up. This is the 5th of 6 committee weeks. So they do have one more set of committee meetings next week in Tallahassee, and then that'll round out all the committee meetings before we start session. Session will begin on January 13th, scheduled to conclude on March 13th. I'm again, not confident that we're going to end on time this year, but at some point they will conclude and there will be a budget, and our job is to be in it. So that's what we're working towards. Assuming a more normal budget conference schedule, usually we see the House and Senate start to roll out their individual budget proposals in weeks 5 and 6. So we're going to be working towards that. We're actually starting to meet with budget committee chairs next week to go through initial projects and kind of tee up, what we're going to be asking them to invest in when we get into session. So that will begin. Budget conference is usually, as I said, towards the end of session, usually week 8 or week 9 of a 10-week legislative session. So kind of back end all the work that gets done on appropriations matters. We expect that at least the legislature will be in a position to be in budget conference at that time. And then, as I mentioned, of course, assuming session ends on time, that'd be March 13th. The legislature will have passed their budget by that point. We'll know that we're in it, and then we're working with the governor's office to make sure we don't land on the veto list. That's work that we really start concurrently with budget conference, so we'll start doing in-person meetings with the governor's office around that week 5 or week 6 mark.
Is there a point where you will be helpful to have some or all of us go up there with you or whatever?
There will be, and Carly and I have been talking about getting that on the calendar. It's probably going to be late January, early February, so that'd be like week 4. We want to land right before those budget chair proposals are starting to come out. There's really it's like the 3 bears and the porridge. It's you can go too early, you can go too late. We want to get you right there in the middle and the right time to be there. So that's what we're looking
Our
at.
vice mayor is up there right now. Of course, he's there for the property tax thing for the Florida League of Cities.
Yes, that's up in state affairs.
He's
today.
very active. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we'll put you to work and drag you up to Tallahassee and walk the halls. It's a fun experience if you haven't done it. We'd love to have you come up.
Okay.
So that's where we are as far as the timing of the project and what we see coming down the pipeline as far as appropriations. Again, the state. We're hearing it consistently from both the House and the Senate that there will be a budget reduction exercise this year again, so they're probably going to try to cut another $2 billion or so. Now, a lot of that comes from broader funding issues within state government, things like vacant positions at different agencies. There have been some big pots of money that have been going back and forth in the conservation space, for example, over the last couple of years. Water quality grants is about a $400 million political chit that gets moved around on the table. So we'll see as we get to the beginning of session, kind of what pieces are on the table. The governor has to release his proposed budget by December 14th, so that's coming up towards the end of next week. The governor recommends, the legislature appropriates, so we'll see what deference they give to his funding requests. And then, of course, there is going to be a lot of politics around this property tax issue. There's no way around that. The House has put forward a series of about 7 or 8 proposals that are kind of everything from do a little bit on, exemptions and kind of leave it, to full repeal of property tax for homesteaded properties. The Speaker has stated his intention is to pass all of those and send it to the Senate and see what the Senate's appetite is to pick from that menu of options. I know in conversations that we've had with the Senate and Senate leadership that they're not keen on substantial reductions to revenue, and they understand the impacts that would have on local government. But there's a lot of political pressure to do something. And then you've got the governor sitting there. The proposals that have been put forward are joint resolutions, which is important in legislative terminology because joint resolutions do not go to the governor for review. They're put directly on the ballot by the legislature. So his lever to pull would be to call them back into special session until he gets what he wants, if he's not satisfied with the product that comes out of the legislature.
As long as another mayor has recently stated, we don't become a ward of the state. That anything that can help helps, but we also have to make sure we can do everything that's taken care of. I'm not sure what percentage of our budget the property taxes entail. Probably 70-80%, I would think, in our city, maybe 60.
77 of the general fund and 42
Jim's
of the total
making a
budget.
face. What?
I'd
rather get the number from him.
I think it's 77% of the general fund and 42% of the overall budget.
Major disaster for us.
Absolutely. And
Especially when we have to beg for, give me some more.
And can't be overstated the importance of being in Tallahassee and having that
Right.
conversation. So for Vice Mayor to be there today is very important. I know Representative Cheney's office has reached out early to ask for information about impacts to the city. We're going to continue to be at the table beating that drum and being a resource to help them understand the real world impacts of what an elimination would look like, because I don't think anyone's fully contemplated
It
that.
does not fit all. So,
With that, happy to answer any questions about the appropriation item, about our strategy.
yeah. So it sounds like we're on good footing at this point, and everything going through. So my also understanding is, I guess, they kind of look at what the city is putting towards the project and take that in consideration. And also that if we don't get enough or we don't get any, we can go back again next year, or if we do even get some, we can still go back.
Correct.
And try to get some more to help with the project. Because every year that we not working on this project, as you know, prices go up and up and up.
Less money.
So
Exactly.
our $7 to $10 million project could be a 10 to 15, kind of like our fire station.
Absolutely.
So it changed so much over time. But as long as we're on a good footing right now and you feel comfortable with it, that's great.
I do.
And like I said, if you need us, I'm there. I'm sure the rest of us will be there. And we'll come up and we'll march the attack with you. So.
Absolutely. We appreciate that very much. It always helps to have folks from back home come up and share the story. If you happen to run into any of our good delegation members in Publix or out on the street as the holiday festivities warm up, feel free to remind them how important this is to
They're
the
already
city.
tired of hearing from me, I'm sure.
Joking
Gotta
aside.
keep beating the drum.
Yeah, you have to keep beating the drum. But joking aside, Pinellas legislative delegation is one of the best delegations in the state. Certainly doesn't hurt to have the appropriations chairman for the Senate in our delegation. And I think he's got a really good feel for the impacts that you've experienced after the storm. And again, that history of good stewardship and not being a frequent flyer, asking for things in Tallahassee, I think helps our case as well as the strong local match that we've put forward on the project. So.
All right, great. Anybody, any questions? Carl, anything else? Nope? Good.
Not for
Just from our end, I want to publicly thank Carly for her patience with us. This is not an easy process to understand and get ramped up on.
No, they've been very patient with me because a lot of this is very new to me too. So they have they've been great with
We've
my
had
questions and
a
whatnot.
lot of opportunity to take a deep dive into the
Yeah.
forums in particular, but we are at cruising altitude now, and expect some smooth travel as we get going into session.
We're all
So-
in a learning process at this point, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any business cards with you?
I will make sure I leave some with you. If I don't have them on me, I'll make sure that Kristen
Okay.
gets them to you. My cell phone's on there. I communicate, particularly during session, by call, text, anytime. We're 24/7 operation up in Tallahassee, so
Great.
happy to be a resource for the city.
Thank you.
Everybody's good?
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you. Pleasure. Have a wonderful day.
We'll drag you up there too, and
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay. And anybody have anything good for the group?
Just kind of on that note, Heather, do you want to come up? Jim, if you want to come up also, but Heather, if you want to come up. So just sort of building off of that, been having some conversations with finance about making sure that we're sort of looking at what our financial situation is and what the rest of that project looks like in the event that we get an appropriations, fund allotted to us. That still has the city on the hook for quite a significant project, and understanding that because we do already carry debt for the fire station, we just feel like it's really important to have a really good idea of what our borrowing power is and what that looks like for the city sort of long term. So Heather, I don't know, Heather reached out to the Florida League for us last week or the week before?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago, so we've been having some conversations. I don't know if you want to speak on that.
Yeah, so the Florida League of Cities has two different programs. They're kind of the umbrella that you would go underneath. They put you in touch with a financial advisor and then like bond counsel. So we have another call scheduled with all of those entities later this week. But they kind of just put you in touch with who you need to so that you can talk to people about, what we would be comfortable with financing versus putting up our own money, the different rates, the different options for financing. So we had to start somewhere. So that they have a really good program, the Florida League of Cities. The people are very nice, easy to work with. And they tout their programs because all of the different, like the financial advisor and the bond counsel, they're very familiar with working together. So they say, they're a lot more efficient. It can save the city money as far as that kind of thing goes. Yeah, exactly. I know last time, like you really like the people that you worked with the last time. So it's not like we're not saying that we're definitely going this way or that way, or we're just trying to find out the options. It's a lot. This is a lot of money that we're talking about. We're asking the legislators for a large appropriations, but we're going to have to be on the hook for quite a bit of money as well. So I just wanted to get in touch with some people to get their opinions on, the length of the financing terms and, the interest rates and our best option. So we're just starting to delve into all that now.
So this may have been a question for Chris, but if we get allocated some money from the state, and if we have to take a loan, are we allowed to get more allocations from the state to pay off the loan?
ask.
We can ask.
I don't know that you can use it to pay all. We can ask.
So you gotta use it during the process,
Yeah.
it sounds like. That-
That's
okay.
my
All right.
understanding.
So that would, I'm just gonna, up in the air, 2 to 3 years to build a building like this, I assume, from start to finish. So it's gotta happen in that time frame. All right, thank you.
So we'll have some more information after we have our next call with the Florida League of Cities people this week. So we'll keep you updated.
The one question I was thinking of asking is, do we know what we're asking for from the legislature?
$3 million.
3 million, okay.
How much?
And-
$3 million.
Great.
That's our
Is that
appropriation.
the most we can ask for, or is that?
So you can ask for whatever you want, but it's kind of walking this fine line because you don't want to show up to the table and be like, I need.
So they feel that that's.
They felt like 3 based on the overall project cost
that
was
Okay.
giving the city a good chance of being approved, because there is the possibility that if you come in asking for too much, that they're just like, y'all are unreasonable, we're not doing this. So we do need significantly more than that,
Yeah.
but don't want to bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
So,
Without any commitment, are we thinking 10 to 12 million at least to build a building like
so the initial estimates from the architects that we got back in May, June was just under 10. So we've been saying 10.
Okay.
We got some updated numbers recently that think it could go up to 12.5.
Okay. Yeah. Seems about
So,
right.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's sort of what we're saying. If you say 10 now, it's 12 to 13. I mean,
That's the
it
problem.
just,
That
it's a
is
scary
the problem.
process. It's a scary process. It is. So,
So you gotta stay on top of it every year.
Well, so pretty much the sooner we make a decision at some point, the better off we'll be. Because that happened before, and it is going to happen again.
yeah.
They're not gonna hold the same amount of money, the same quote, unless you lock it in.
But I mean, at this moment, the big question is what is the city's actual borrowing power? Because we carry debt. And so if the bank is looking at the city and what revenues are coming in versus what debts we already have, how limited are we gonna be with how much money someone will actually give us? That's my big
Yeah,
question right
and
now.
the people at Florida League are gonna
So-
be helpful in that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they had already asked us for, like our most recent audit and our most current financial statement so they can kind of take a look. Because what we're trying to prove to ourselves and everybody else is that we're not going to have to use ad valorem money to pay our debt payments. This needs to be, for both the fire station and then city hall debt, it needs to be non-ad valorem. Otherwise, there's this whole other path you have to go down. So that's what Carly and I have had quite a bit of conversations about that. Our borrowing power, our debt capacity outside of the ad valorem money. So. So.
Good. I mean, we're moving ahead. Find it all out.
Yep.
It's a
It's gonna be a
process.
tough road, but, get there.
To
All right.
answer y'all's question about the ad valorem, it's about 47%. I wasn't sure what Carly said.
Oh, I think it said 42.
Yeah, it's like 47%, so, or general fund budget, so
Yeah, it's a lot.
it's half of our,
And was the estimate for 10, a little under 10, a complete rebuild?
Yes. But it is now 12 and a half.
12 and a half.
12, yeah.
It was 10 in May, it's now 12 and a half.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
So-
The rebuild cost.
Is
The
the-
cost
The
to
rebuild,
rebuild.
yeah.
Yeah, the repair was between 6 and 7. So the repair and correct code issues and try to revamp this building was between 6 and 7. So, which we've sort of tried to make that point in our appropriations conversations also, so that people don't think that we're just, oh, you got a little bit of damage, you want a brand new building. It's like, fixing the one we've got does not seem like a responsible financial decision at this point.
First estimate was 60 to 70% just to repair
Yeah,
something that's old, yeah.
yeah,
That doesn't make any
So-
sense.
Yeah.
nope. So. that's where we're at.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.
I think, Mark, you might have.
I got another topic. So I was contacted by Sean Dunn, who is a realtor. I believe he's got an office over somewhere near the Central restaurant over there now. It sounded like it was in that building. I don't know the address. 2525 South Pasadena.
It's in that shopping
It's in that shopping center. He has got several people that he's working with that were not able to get their building permits, okay, in the year that we gave it, and he is asking us to not to start giving the permits again for another 6 months to 12 months, so that people have the ability that had storm damage, okay, to be able to get permits without paying the fee. And I didn't really have enough time to get it on the agenda, so I wanted to bring it up and see what people's feelings were in this meeting.
Looking at the cost of this building and everything else we're looking at right now, it's really hard to say extend that.
I mean, we extended
Was
it
there a
once.
reason why they didn't apply earlier? Did he
I
say?
do not know. I know the first one that I was given was that I think it's 745 Hibiscus, and I think I came to the meeting where they were asking for a triplex to be put on there, and you guys said no, it could only be a duplex.
Yeah.
Basically, the amount of time that it takes, okay, to get the architects together, to get the planning done and all that, they just haven't had time to get their permits within the timeline that we had given.
Do we need Terry?
Well,
Terry is available
Well, because, you know, I mean, I think
We all have thoughts.
you almost opened the door up again.
Yeah, you
and
did.
then,
it is, I'm opening the
But do you
door up
want to
again.
open the door up again?
And
That's the question, I think.
That is the question. I mean, we've given extensions already,
Yeah.
and come to find out a lot of the times
Well, the
where,
first example is for an investor. Somebody's
Yeah.
not even living in a unit.
Yeah.
Is, you know, it's hard. We gave away so much. I mean, over $1 million. We lost over that, not including probably payroll and everything else involved.
Well,
It's
the
very
new
difficult to do
construction,
more.
new construction was not part of that.
Yeah.
The portion of the new construction was that if they had applied for Elevate Florida and been denied, they would get a discount once the certificate of occupancy was issued. So new construction wasn't really part of that unless they had applied for Elevate Florida, and that property, I do not believe, had applied for it as well.
That's something they could have applied for before having everything.
Absolutely.
correct. Yes.
So just so I understand, it is new construction, but was there a house there that got damaged in the storm?
Yes.
Okay.
Their demolition permit was given free.
Okay.
So we did, give that,
Yep.
the building permit portion of the demolition permit was free. The new construction portion, like I said, when we did the ordinance, it was
You have to apply for Elevate Florida.
correct, in order to get the discount, and it was, I believe, a 50%.
And that was something they could have done before getting their permit here. I mean,
Yes.
or even their, I guess their agreement drawings and whatever else probably. Just apply for, just to get in the program and then, I don't know, it's just hard to keep giving away money, with what we need.
Yeah.
But I'm not the end all say all, of course. Everybody here gets a vote, so.
I don't,
In my mind, just one more thing in my mind, and I haven't had a chance to pull this together, but everything that we've collected up to this point would have to be given back also, right, to be fair? You couldn't stop, or,
That would
That
probably
would be
be
very
sense
difficult.
to-
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be very difficult to do something like
I
that.
just think it opens up a can of
Why did you do it?
worms.
It does.
I really am not in favor of it.
I'm not either.
I mean, we've given plenty of notice, notice after notice after notice, that we were having it in the first place and then extending it after that. You know, what more can you do? I mean,
It was over $1 million in
Yeah.
funds that we did not collect.
we did not
Just,
collect
we
it.
just passed a budget saying we're gonna get those monies now.
I will also say that it potentially complicates the city's argument that I have conversations every day begging for money for the city. Is the basically the appropriations
Right, and
process
here
that
we
we're,
go giving
we're
it away
sitting
again.
here trying to discuss,
Right.
the city's revenue future in terms of our lending capacity and our borrowing capacity, and then asking the state for money. It's a complicated,
Yep.
it
Process.
complicates the issue to say that we are also voluntarily not collecting. I think the period that you all did was understandable. I think the more you do that, it starts becoming, well, how financially responsible are you being, and then asking others for
Well,
money.
you said he's an investor
So
anyway.
just
he's
keep
not-
that in mind.
Yeah. he's
Well, no, so this is the Realtor who has
Oh.
multiple, and he may
Yeah.
show up here next Tuesday,
Yeah.
because I told him if he wants to get his point across, he should come to the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a Realtor that is working with multiple homeowners in the area,
Mm.
and he, as a central person, came and asked for it, okay,
Mm.
so. But the specific address that I wrote down, which was the first one that we talked about, we don't know if he's an investor. I don't know if the guy's moving down here or not, but it was one that actually, when I was sitting out there during meetings last year, was a variance you guys voted on.
Right.
So I remembered that.
Yeah.
So, doesn't sound like strong support.
no, I say absolutely not.
Yeah.
Well, and
I say
even this
no.
Realtor's got financial thing he's gonna get out of this.
Sure, he's gonna help these people build their, he's probably gonna be the coordinator
Yeah,
for building the houses. Yeah.
Right,
It's a-
right.
It's
So-
I mean, everything's a business decision,
Yeah.
so I get that.
I mean, I don't mean to sound cold and heartless, but we've done an awful lot. And the announce it, and we've told everybody on every corner, everywhere throughout this whole process, what the rules were, what the deadlines were.
And we probably extended ours longer than any other city did.
I think so.
Pretty close,
And I
yeah.
think, the fact that
Pretty
something
close.
slipped through and now they're coming back at it, I'm not in favor of that. Much less the giving away of city money
And
that
I
we
don't know
so
if that's real or not, it just in my
that
mind
we
had
so
to be fair.
desperately
Yeah.
need.
Okay.
Well, I mean, they said that when we were waiving that for the overtime for the staff, was that you're waiving a revenue source.
Yeah.
And so we're not gonna pay you since you had another way to get that money. So
Yeah,
I
that's
can,
sort of the
I
point
can
I'm making,
see,
is that when you make these choices, it affects other things that the city is doing.
Yeah.
It's a bigger decision than just how do you feel about this? It affects other
This
things.
is the year we're gonna need to recoup and look forward to
Start
spending more
rebuilding.
money.
Yeah.
For the city hall. So,
All right,
okay.
I think I have the
Well,
answer
I think
for
I said
that.
he might
Thank you.
come, but yeah,
That's how we do things.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, Terry.
unless you got some really great news or something you wanna tell us.
I do,
Oh, all right.
Yay.
Yeah.
I got a couple things.
How
actually.
come the fire
Oh.
chief never has good news?
Those two back there just like to spend
They
some
spend
money.
money.
You want.
They spend money.
Just want to give you a little update. We did issue the revision for Take 5, so they should be ramping back up and getting going on that. And we
You know what
also,
they're gonna do to the road or whatever?
they are closing a portion of the median, so you can, so it'll be,
So they won't be able to shoot across the traffic.
no,
It's-
they're closing it completely.
Yeah,
It's
so
not
when you,
gonna
when
be
you, when you come
suicide.
out
It
of
will
Take
not be-
5, you won't be able to shoot across and make a left.
Correct.
You'll have
And
to
you
make a
you
right,
can't make a
so-
left in either.
You'll have to make a right.
But you won't be able to get into horse and jockeys easy. Isn't that where you turn to get into the horse and jockey?
Oh, to go left is there?
Yeah.
You have to come up and
Take a
turn
up and
U-turn.
make a
You'll
Go
have to
around
come up
the
and do
block.
a U-turn.
Yep.
Take a look at our beautiful city. Go
Ah,
around
there you
the
go.
block.
Get a
Yeah.
little more.
Spend
I'm all
another
for
minute
it.
driving around.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that is getting going
That's
again.
good, that's good.
And then we received a site plan review application for in front of the storage facility for a Chipotle.
Oh, okay. All right.
Chipotle.
At least we're going the right direction, yes.
So
That's nice.
kind of sit down
Yeah.
restaurant.
Not
Yeah.
a
Not
drive-through.
quite, not a
Not
drive-through.
a drive-through.
They will have a drive-through portion, but the drive-through portion is just for online order pickups.
Okay.
So it's not a drive-through to keep going. So just so you know, that's
That's
something.
good news, that is good
So.
news.
I like Cava, I'll walk there.
That's
Or
good news.
Chipotle. I like
So,
Cava also, but
just
Chipotle.
Nothing with Jay's Fabrics yet?
Nothing in official.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Well, that's good.
Great, good news.
Going back to my seat now.
Thank you.
And anybody, nothing? All right, well, guess what? We're